Alright everybody, welcome back to Game 2 of the Fond du Lac, Wisconsin City Championships. We have Vince against Andrew. Vince did take the first game. Vince is on the left with his Kyurem, Cobalion, Electrode deck. The spread from Kyurem was just too much for Andrew to handle. He didn't get a very good setup, and eventually he just got overwhelmed. So hopefully we'll see a little better game out of Andrew this time. Hopefully he will set up and we'll have a good game. Now, we did see him mulligan. He did lose the first game, so he will have the option to choose who goes first. I say that kind of sarcastically because at this point in time, there is no disadvantage to going first. So, if you were to choose to go second, there's something wrong with you. So I'm sure Andrew will choose to go first. We do see a second mulligan from him. Hopefully we get this started here soon. Now I just want to talk about this matchup once again. We did see Vince take the first game, but if you're Vince, you got to be kind of alarmed. You did win, but everything kind of went right, and you still kind of struggled to win. Like I said, his deck doesn't really have a great way to beat Magnezone Prime, and if Andrew were to get fully set up, I actually think he'd be the favorite in this matchup. Vince has to use Electrode Prime's Energy Might to power up his attackers. That means every time he powers up an attacker, he's got to give up a prize. And if Andrew just uses Lost Burn to knock out the Pokemon with energy, Vince's board completely resets, he loses all of its energy, and then he has to blow up another Electrode in order to power up a new attacker. So eventually, Andrew's just going to take all of his prizes. It's just kind of the reality when you face Magnezone. You see a lot of people feature Terrakion in their decks just to deal with Magnezone. And once again, we have a really bad start from Andrew. No supporter or anything. And Vince will start with that Collector. So things are going very well for him. Hopefully Andrew can draw into something because this is looking ugly. Now, once again, Vince doesn't really have a way to deal with Zekrom either. We could see just Andrew power up this Zekrom manually, and Vince really couldn't do a whole lot about it. I'm sure if he had an Eviolite, that would change the story, because, and then Special Metal will help as well. But overall, he doesn't really have an efficient way to knock out Zekrom. Kyurem and Cobalion are very tough Pokemon, but they don't really have the raw power to knock out things in one hit. They just kind of slowly whittle away, and we did see Andrew draw a Dynamo, I believe. He's debating playing something. He's going to catch her out. Kyurem, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I don't think he really needed to do this, but he's going to go ahead and do that and kind of put the pressure on Vince, drag out the Kyurem. And we'll see what Vince does from here. He does have a communication. I believe he shuffled in the unknown cure that is in his hand. He's afraid of Vanillux. He doesn't want to take a cheap loss to that, so he does play an unknown cure to get out of special conditions. But obviously that's not very good in this matchup, so he just shuffles that in, gets his Electrode, and here's that research record that's going to help him. And oh boy, there are 3 energy in his top 7. That is a pretty sight if you're Vince. He's going to be able to get at least 3 energy off of this Energy Might. He knows that. Now, what are the other 4 cards going to be? This could be very, very big. Let's see. Yeah, we got 4 energy. Pretty good. He'll be able to use whatever attack he wants to this turn. Looks like he's going to go ahead and use Glaciate. So you couldn't really ask for a much better start. 4 energy off of an Energy Might, and there's the 3rd Special Metal on that Cobalion. Things are going very well for Vince, and if you're Andrew, you're probably shaking your head, thinking, what did I do to deserve this? Everything's going right for my opponent, and I'm just stuck here with the Zekrom, but things are not as bad as they seem. We do see Vince playing a Junk Arm. He's going to go for a research record and put all 4 on the bottom. He has not actually played a supporter yet, believe it or not, and he will Juniper for a fresh hand of 7. Now, he did Junk Arm away one of his Junk Arms, which is kind of a big deal. Usually people want to conserve those. So maybe he would have been better off waiting to do that, but he just wanted a fresh hand. Can't blame him for that. It's always painful to see 2 junk arms go for no real purpose, but that is the drawback of Juniper. You do have to discard your hand. Hopefully that won't come back to bite him. And now Andrew's option is pretty straightforward. Once this Kyurem is powered up, you have to knock it out. You can't sit there and let it use Glaciate on your field. It's just going to plow through everything. And yep, he's going to go ahead, use Bolt Strike to knock that out. But now Vince has that Cobalion ready to go. And one of the great things about Electrode Prime is when you do get so many energy off of Energy Might. If you can get 3 or 4 energy and power up one of your attackers just through Energy Might, that's a very big deal because it allows you to manually attach your energy to your next attacker, like we're seeing here. That Cobalion is already powered up, and he's going to be able to manually attach and power up that Kyurem on his bench, and basically just keep having attackers ready. And he won't have to use another Electrode, so that is a pretty big deal. We saw him shuffling some stuff with Super Rod, but the main thing this turn, he's going to send out that Cobalion with 3 special metals and Iron Breaker for a knockout. And Andrew, all he can do is send up Magnemite. And we'll see what... Oh, it looks like he did draw a Magnezone, so he will have a rare candy Magnezone. That's probably the best thing he could have hoped for. He'll be able to magnetic draw. Yep, there we go. There's the rare candy and the Magnezone. So he will be able to draw up to 6 cards. He doesn't have an Electrik as well, so things did not look good early on for Andrew, but he's roaring back here. He's got pretty much whatever he would want. There's a Lightning on the Magnezone. Let's see, he does have a Switch in his hand. He's debating using that. He's going to draw 4 for magnetic draw. See what he gets off of that. Looks like there's a Pokegear in his hand. He's going to hope for a supporter. If you're Andrew, you're probably hoping for a collector here, to be honest. You just need more basics out in your field. You're not going to do it with just a Magnezone and just 1 Electrik. It's just not going to do it for you the whole game. And it didn't see him take anything, so maybe he didn't get anything off of that. That would be quite a big deal. Maybe he would have to use the Switch this turn. But if he does, he's basically caught in a bad situation. If he plays the Switch, he's going to have to sacrifice his Electrik. If he doesn't, his Magnezone's going to have to take a hit. And there we go, there's Dynamotor, going to put another energy onto Magnezone. And so next turn, Vince will be under some pressure if he does not find an Eviolite or his 4th special metal. Lost Burn will knock out his Cobalion, taking down all 3 of those special metals. And that's just not a spot he wants to be in, so he puts the energy onto Kyurem, and we'll see if he does anything else this turn. I don't see really any supporter in his hand besides N. I'm not sure if he wants to do that right now. He has taken 1 prize, but depending on what else is in his hand, he might not want to shuffle that in. So definitely a tough spot for Vince. If he had an Eviolite, this would be a great spot. The Magnezone would not be able to knock him out. And we do see a collector, so we're not going to see him shuffle his hand in or anything like that. So he's going to grab a Cobalion. Looks like a Voltorb. And he's hiding the 3rd one. We'll see what else he decides to get. I just want to point out, I do believe every card in Vince's deck is foil. If you just want to take a look, every single card is reverse hollow or hollow in some fashion. Even his basic energy are the Call of Legends foil energy. So kind of cool. I'm glad that those aren't providing a massive glare, but just something I kind of noticed. And it looks like Andrew actually doesn't have any reverse foil cards, so kind of just a story of 2 different players. So now Vince is using Shaman's Celebration Wind to actually move around his energy. I'm not sure how I feel about this. He's gonna have to do it eventually. I guess he just wanted to save his metal energy. he realizes that Lost Burn will knock him out, so he wants to save the metal energy so he can actually use Cobalion to attack the next Magnezone. So, good foresight from Vince, seeing that in advance. Normally you'd want to hold on to Shaman until you absolutely have to use it, but in this situation he knows he needs to save his metal energy, and moves the one off of Cobalion and moves a water off of Kyurem as well, just so we can use Iron Breaker next turn on that Magnezone. Because, honestly, like I said before, there's nothing in his deck that really hurts Magnezone. Kyurem can sit there and Glaciate for 30, but that's going to take 5 turns to Glaciate for a knockout. Iron Breaker is really his only option, and I mean, when you look at it, that's not the greatest option. So, even though it feels like Vince is very far ahead, I do believe Andrew has the prize lead. We did see Vince blow up his Electrode early on, and then we've seen a Kyurem knocked out and a Cobalion knocked out, so that's 3 prizes taken for Andrew and 2 for Vince. So Vince has 4 prizes remaining to the 3 of Andrew, and if he uses this Electrode, he'll be down to 2 prizes, and that's kind of a scary spot when you're staring down a Magnezone. So Vince has some decisions to make here pretty quickly. He's gonna have to figure out what to do, how not to fall to the power of Magnezone Prime, because his deck is really not equipped for it very well. And we do have an Energy Might again, so Andrew will go down to 2 prizes. Vince is hoping for some energy here. We get 3 again, wow. So this has been a big game for Energy Might. He's going to put that special metal right onto Cobalion, and then 2 waters onto Kyurem, and then play an N, putting Andrew down to 2 cards. Now, versus most decks, this would be pretty devastating. An N down to 2 cards would severely limit your options, but with that Magnezone, he'll be able just to refill his hand up to 6 cards with Magnetic Draw, and he shouldn't be too affected by it. But we'll have to find out soon. So, we do see Vince has an option this turn. He can attack with Cobalion or with Kyurem, and he decides to go with Cobalion. I think this is the better way to go. He does have an Eelektrik as well, which is kind of neat because now any damage done to Cobalion is reduced by 40, meaning you have to do 160 damage in order to knock him out in 1 hit, which basically means Magnezone Prime has to Lost Zone a 4th energy for a knockout. And this small little combat math actually comes down to decide a lot of games. We might see decide this one, but unfortunately Cobalion only does 60 to this Magnezone. But on the plus side for Vince, there's absolutely 0 energy on Andrew's field. He has no way to really threaten an attack anytime soon. There's no Electrik on the field. There are no energy on the field. So for the time being, Vince is safe. He has 2 very large Pokemon, the Cobalion and the Kyurem. Both of them take a lot of energy to get knocked out by Magnezone. So I don't think he's in any trouble anytime soon. The problem is he just can't knock out Andrew's Pokemon fast enough. It takes 3 hits for him to knock out a Magnezone, which gives Andrew 3 turns to set up his next attacker. And when that happens, I think Vince's Pokemon is just going to get knocked out. So if everything goes according to plan for Andrew, we might see him take this game because he only has to take 2 more prizes. Vince has to take 4. And that could be a tall order for his deck, given the circumstances. We do see Andrew put down a Magnemite, put a Lightning on it, and pass. So, if you're Vince here, you might think, I might want to start using Glaciate because there's so many Pokemon out on the field, and that's exactly what he's going to try to do. He might realize the same thing. I'm not going to be able to just keep using Iron Breaker to win this game. I have to make some big play, and he's going to spread damage to all of Andrew's Pokemon with Glaciate, and we do see an Electrode come down, so this is a pretty big deal. He is avoiding any sort of knockout from Glaciate on the next turn, and there's a communication, so that Magnemite should evolve as well which is not what Vince wanted to see. Now at this point, Vince has to be just kind of hoping. Oh, and there's actually a Magnezone, so we're going to see a rare candy into another Magnezone. Now Vince has to be hoping that, honestly, that this Kyurem goes the distance for him, or at least sets up enough Pokemon to where he can win. Like I said, he has to take 4 prizes. Honestly, he just has to hope that Kyurem can get off 2 more Glaciates. If he does that, he'll be able to knock out the active Magnezone and that benched Electrik. So basically, he has to hope that Andrew does not find a switch. That would be the way for Andrew to get a knockout. And if that Magnezone gets stuck in the active spot, I don't see a way for him to really do anything. He's just going to be stuck there until Glaciate really destroys him. Now, if he attaches an energy to his active Magnezone this turn, that would be a pretty good idea because he can threaten a Lost Burn, but oh, looks like he doesn't actually get an energy attachment for the turn. So that was a pretty big break for Vince. We'll see if he can actually capitalize. I really think Andrew's still in position to win the game if he can find a switch. That's going to be the deciding factor in the game. Does he actually find the switch to get his active Magnezone out of the way so his other Magnezone can attack and knock out Kyurem? And then eventually, Cobalion should just kind of win the game. Now, Vince does play an N. I'm not sure how I feel about this. He does have 4 prizes left to Andrew's 2. But he's actually going to hurt himself more than he hurts Andrew. And, I don't know, maybe he thought Andrew had the switch in his hand. Maybe he had reason to believe that. If that's the case, then sure, you might as well do that. But you got to think, giving him 2 cards doesn't really do a whole lot because he'll be able to refill his hand up to 6. And then probably be able to find a switch. He did play a switch earlier, I believe, so maybe he just needs a junk arm as well. And if he does, I don't like Vince's odds. He really needs to get 1 more Glaciate off to have a chance to win this game. You know, even though things went so well for him, he had that turn 2 energy might for 4 energy. He had a second energy might for 3 energy. He basically got 7 energy into play just through Electrode Prime. Even though all of that happened, his deck is so inefficient against a Magnezone Prime that he's in a position to lose the game. Kind of surprising, but that's kind of what happens when you don't have anything to deal with this. Kyurem and Cobalion just do not do damage quickly enough, and Magnezone can knock you out in 1 hit, so that's a problem. But now this is going to be the big turn. Did Andrew find a way to get a switch? He did play a Sage. He needs a switch or a junk arm. We see a magnetic draw as well, and I don't think he got it. If he didn't, that is going to be a devastating blow for Andrew. He might not be able to win if Vince gets another Glaciate off. It's just going to be too tough, and oh, he doesn't have it. This is going to be a very big deal. Vince is going to be able to Glaciate and take 3 prizes this turn, and I don't know what Andrew can do about it. He's going to be able to spread everywhere. We do see Vince is going to catch out the Zekrom just because he knows that the only way Kyurem's getting knocked out is by Lost Burn, and he wants to make Andrew lose all of his energy by retreating. So a very smart play there, and Vince takes 3 prizes in 1 turn, so Andrew's got to make a move here. Honestly, his only real option is to knock out the Cobalion on the bench. If he does a switch and then a catcher, I think he's still in good shape. That's the only real way he'll be in good shape, though. So he's going to play a Sage. We'll see what he draws. The reason he has to catcher the Cobalion is that both of his Pokemon on the field are going to be knocked out by Iron Breaker. There's no way around it. Iron Breaker will knock out his Pokemon. Now, oh, here is a junk arm. He does have a catcher in his hand, so we could see a pretty big turn from Andrew here. If he gets that switch out of his discard pile, this is going to be huge. He does need to switch to preserve his energy. Kyurem actually cannot knock out both of these Pokemon. They both have 40 hit points remaining. Actually, Magnezone has 50 hit points remaining. So Kyurem actually does not have the ability to knock either of these Pokemon out. And if Andrew were to catcher that Cobalion this turn, he could Lost Burn it. He'd only have to get rid of 3 energy, and then next turn, he could win the game. So he needs to realize this situation. He needs to play the catcher, knock out Cobalion. Otherwise, it's just going to come out and knock him out. This is a pretty straightforward situation. He has the catcher in his hand. He's got to go for it. But it looks like he's actually going to decide to use Lost Burn on the active Kyurem. And that is actually going to end the game. All Vince has to do is Iron Breaker. Actually, no. I stand corrected. Magnezone does have 50 hit points left. So Vince would need a catcher. And there's the junk arm for the catcher. And there we go. There's the Iron Breaker. There is the knockout. And there we have it. Vince is your Fond du Lac Wisconsin City Champion with the Kyurem Cobalion Electrode deck. He managed to pull out a win against this big Magnezone Prime Electric deck. Even though his attackers aren't the greatest versus Magnezone, the spreading from Kyurem eventually caught up to Andrew, and he managed to squeak out a win, even though it looked like he was on the ropes. So, thank you guys for watching. This was the Fond du Lac Wisconsin City Championship Finals. Pretty close matchup. Exciting matchup with some new decks. So hopefully you guys were entertained and learned some stuff. And can use it going forward in picking out your decks for City Championships. So, thanks again for watching. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.